5 steps to find the general term of a linear series. Before we get started, we're going to go over a little bit of terminology. If this was the general term of a linear series, the first thing we want to identify is the n, and the n is a variable. The second number, the number out in front of that, is the coefficient. And finally, the last number we call the constant. Those three pieces together, when put together in this way, give us the general term of a linear series. Suppose that we're given a series of numbers, such as 5, 9, 13, 17, and we're asked to find the general term of that series. Here are the 5 steps we need to follow. Step 1. Make a t-table. So the only thing we're going to do that's a little bit different in this case is we're going to always start our t-table with a 0, even though we don't have a value associated with it yet. Then we'll put in our 1, 2, 3, 4, and put in the data from our series, which was 5, 9, 13, and 17. That's step 1 complete. Step 2. Find the difference between all the terms. So we look at each of the sets of terms and we want the difference between them. So 9 minus 5 is 4, 13 minus 9 is 4, and 17 minus 13 is 4. That ends step 2. Step 3. Confirm that the difference is the same between all of the data points. So it's fairly easy to see at this point. We've got a difference of 4 between all of the data points. So that tells us that the series is linear. It also tells us that 4 is the coefficient. That completes step 3. Step 4. Find the 0 value. We find the 0 value by subtracting the coefficient, which we've just found, from the first value in the series. The 0 value will give us the constant in the general term. So we take the first term and we subtract the coefficient, which is 5 minus 4, which of course equals 1. So our constant is equal to 1. Step 5. Make the general term. At this point now we've got everything we need to do to put together the general term. We start with our coefficient of 4. We put that right beside the variable n, and then we add the constant. Now we have the general term for the series of data that we were given in 5 easy steps. Using the general term to find any other term. Once you've found the general term of a series, you can find any term in that series using its term number and the general term. From the previous example, we've got 4n plus 1. That was the general term. Now supposing we wanted to find the 5th term. By saying the 5th term, that tells us that n is going to be equal to 5. All we need to do now to find that 5th term is substitute that value of 5 in place of n in the equation. So the 5th term is 4, replacing the n with 5 and adding 1 to it, which of course is 20 plus 1, which is 21. When you have the general term, you can also use it to find the term number of any term. So if you know the general term and are given the value of any term in that series, you can determine the term number of that value. Using the general term from the previous example, we've got 4n plus 1. Now, suppose we're told that 101 is a term in the series. This tells us that in the series we started out with, where it was 5, 9, 13, 17, if you kept on going, eventually you're going to get to 101. You can then figure out the n value for 101 in that series. So this was term 1, this was term 2, this was term 3, and this was term 4, but we want to know what's the term number of 101. To do that, we rely on our basic algebra skills. What we're really saying is that 4n plus 1 is equal to 101. Now we just need to solve for n. To do that, we subtract 1 from both sides because we want to get rid of that 1 and get the n alone. Then we've got 101 minus 1. That gives us 4n is equal to 100. Now we want to divide both sides by 4 to get the n all by itself. So we take 4n divided by 4, and we take 100 and divide it by 4. That gives us n on this side, and 100 divided by 4 gives us 25. So 101 is the 25th term in the series.